3 is directed by Shane Black and it stars Robert Downey Jr., Gwyneth Paltrow, Don Cheadle, Rebecca Hall, Guy Pearce, and Sir Ben Kingsley. It's the 7th MCU film and had a budget of $200 million and it grossed over $1.25 billion worldwide, making Marvel's second movie to reach the billion mark. The film follows up after events of the Avengers, where you see a deconstruction of Tony Stark versus result of him having PTSD, and also the film follows his consequences, which he had in 1999, where he met Jensen for the first time, and where he met Aldrich Killian and Maya Hansen. Tony Stark stood up Aldrich Killian by him having an association with him, and he had a one-night fling but never followed up with Maya Hansen. So which led to the consequences of being villains of the film. The villain which was marketed was the Mandarin. He was a figurehead for terrorism, which he had series of bombings in America and in the Middle East. And you see the Easter egg, he is the leader of the 5 rings, was it the 7 rings, which captured Tony in the first Iron Man film. The film also sees how Rhodey and how America deals with its problems, and there's the differences between Iron Man and Rhodey doing their business. Like, Iron Man has the superhero stuff, and Rhodey is part of the US government, and there's a change of the War Machine's name into the Iron Patriot. The strengths of this film is the comedy. Most of the comedy hits well, and Robert Downey Jr., he's the standout actor of this film. This is the point where you definitely say he's the definitive Iron Man. As I said before, it focuses on Tony Stark, so you see more Robert Downey Jr. doing more of the acting and action and less Iron Man. But this doesn't result of less action in the film. There's plenty of action in the film, especially in the final act, which you see dozens of Iron Man suits and armor, various ones you can see from the comics, into the final set piece. The dynamic of Tony Stark meeting the kid after the first encounter with one of Mandarin's associates was fantastic. This could have gone downhill so badly, but the chemistry we played so well. And I love the final part, like when he leaves the boy, and when he's like the boy trying to guilt trip him to stay and help him, and he just say, I have the same feeling. We're connected. That was hilarious in the film. The score of the film, it's really good. I do miss Ramin Djawadi's score because he had like a theme and it set up the character really well. But this one was more hero type of theme, close to a Hans Zimmer type of theme. But it does play well and do well for the character. You do hear his theme in this film quite a lot. It kind of makes it like a definitive theme in the film. The character building of Tony Stark, fantastic, and the relationship between him and Pepper in the film is really good. They made it more argumentative than the last film, which I criticized a lot from my last review, and made it more organic, more like a relationship. Pepper moves in with Tony, and Tony's PTSD kind of like strangles the relationship. He doesn't sleep well. If he does, Pepper's like, he calls the Iron Man in his sleep to defend him, and whilst that situation happened, Pepper was with him, so she felt in danger, and without Pepper, Tony might lose it because of his PTSD. So I like that role of Pepper and Tony's relationship, and it gave Pepper a significant role in the film. The CGI is fantastic. It carried on from the Avengers. As the budget increased for each Marvel film, the CGI has gotten better with each Marvel film. The Iron Man suit doesn't stand out as much in this film, or doesn't stand out at all. I think it remains the same quality as Iron Man 2 than Iron Man 1, and you can see the budget really well. $200 million was well spent. Now, for weaknesses, and the major weaknesses that people have complained about is the Mandarin. Personally, I'm not an Iron Man fan, but I do see why people have problems with the Mandarin. Now, this is going to be really spoiler heavy, so if you want to not know about the Mandarin, because this is the major plot of the film, I'll say put a link in the description to skip this part, or click like and subscribe to Jeremiah's YouTube channel. So the Mandarin character is basically a fraud. He is a figurehead in terms of a face of terrorism. The real Mandarin is Aldrich Killian, but he's the one who pulls the strings, and he's the one who made Maya Hansen for an extremist project, which he wanted to make it more streamlined and more for pay for the US government. So he went out to seek Pepper Potts funding and more support, but she rejected it, that offer, that notion that it was going to be weaponized. But back to the Mandarin part. So the Mandarin, if you see in the trailers at the time of the film, he looked like a big threat. And when the big reveal for the film, which Sir Ben Kingsley's character is majoring an actor, it was basically a troll. So I'm not an Iron Man fan, so I'm not gonna take it that they destroyed the character. That's not art for Mandarin. He made Mandarin a joke. But I do see that the marketing sold us on one thing and we got a joke in other. And that could destroy the film in that type of sense. And this is the most divisive Iron Man films and one of the most divisive Marvel films to date. And this leads to the villains of the film. Maya Hansen was supposed to be the original villain. She was now sidetracked and they made Aldrich Killian. And Aldrich Killian, he was not that memorable. He's another guy who's a layman's version of Tony Stark again. And his motive is not strong enough, or he doesn't leave that impression. They could have made it more of that competing for Pepper's affection, but that was more sidetracked. And it didn't really bode well in the film. He's a no forgettable film. Maya Hansen, her role in the film, I think she, because she was sidetracked, her motivation was a bit fuzzy in a way. But she wanted Tony to help her make Extremis more foolproof. Because the problem with Extremis is, if a person gets too hot, the person explodes. All the Mandarin's terrorist explosions were not his explosions. It was because one of the people who had Extremis got too hot and exploded. So they were their own time bomb. And Maya Hansen wanted Tony to fix the problem, which he was too drunk that night. And so he wouldn't help her even if he wanted to, because she's a bad guy and he's a hero. And her sudden death was just you didn't get that emotional pull. And I felt that Rebecca Hall, she's a phenomenal actress, and I felt she was wasted in the film. The comedy in some parts were a bit predictable. I don't like one of these armors that comes apart and rejoins later. I like him in the armor doing some action. And like I said, it was a more character study of Tony Stark, more of a deconstruction. You can say that the film had less Iron Man, more Tony, which people want to see Iron Man. But Robert Downey Jr. is so good in the role that he can make do without the Iron Man because he's so charismatic in the film. Overall, the film is really good. Apart from the Mandarin and the villain, it's a pretty solid film. It's a major step up for Iron Man 2. I hated that film. Iron Man 3, I give it a 7.4, 7.5 out of 10. It's the first movie after Avengers and it kicks off Phase 2. In terms of marketing wise, it made sense of putting Iron Man strict directly after Avengers, because after Avengers, Iron Man made a bill straight off the gate, and it could have beat the Avengers record. But 1.2 bill is not that too shabby, to be honest. Well guys, click like and subscribe, leave a comment on the comment section. This is Jeremiah. Peace.